much did the line clear? It took in 11 at 5.
You permit,
But
and then,
still got
well, I'll
to do
disconnect
that.
if you can connect your
And I don't have a bill for it.
So we can do that. Where is all that?
Probably.
It's, wireless.
Oh, it's wireless?
Yes, so I'm gonna give you, when you pull up the Wi-Fi, it's gonna be for the meeting room, and then this is gonna be the password for the meeting room.
And it'll be able to do it?
And then I'll link you in here.
Yeah. About third item.
Technology.
Ernestine, well, you're my guinea pig, yeah.
The second,
I get
the
to
business
use-
meeting.
Going Wi-Fi?
For the presentation, I sent there.
That's fine, wherever you want to, talk to them.
I've done the double screen thing, but I don't hear it.
Are these tables for us, or?
Yes, that's fine.
Can't see the crowd.
Yeah, but maybe it's perfect.
Well, we might not want to see him.
Let me go into this.
No, it shouldn't be too bad. It shouldn't be too bad.
So you're gonna-
And if you want to all around, that's, you know, that's the way. Well, people have this stuff.
And I'll just take notes. Questions.
There's a place in that comments, just.
Yeah, this is just.
You talking about
Formality. There we go.
On the paper, it said that we weren't supposed, the public wasn't supposed to be speaking.
Sure.
Bill,
yeah.
there are gonna be posted.
I'm looking forward to it, but show me people.
And they will be open to call and, reserve the table.
I'll wait till,
Yeah.
We don't know, it's legislation, she's the president part of the
Do you
parliament.
want to allow my PCP, my PCP, my other
right now, they don't take into consideration individual circumstances.
Do you want me to?
Make sure hers will connect first.
Hey, I moved the TV over there a while ago, so y'all can turn it anyway now. Y'all think
I
it's done?
don't know.
It might be, need to be turned all around.
And,
Right now, got it.
good.
So, what we're gonna do is we'll have our minutes from the past meeting. So I'll connect mine, pull that up on my screen, but then go to that, and I'll go with Stakeholder, get Windows 10.
It works.
About that.
We left one. There it is.
How would it, if I did that, how would I do it?
It'll go back.
So just click it. Okay, so I can go ahead and look in.
He said I couldn't explain to you. It's hard for me to explain.
Nothing's there.
I've done that one.
Did it?
I got a friend that grew up at-
I went.
I didn't know.
Yeah, well,
Put them in the trunk.
Well, you know, that talk to you. I got the guy's number now.
You don't have to do that.
Greg, sitting next to the ladies, we just, let's go. We were at his place.
This one back up underneath there and say, hey, that's a good idea, and maybe.
You're ready.
Sorry.
So they're all down there close.
We went there.
Yeah, we went with
Right after the free all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it. And I might do that again.
That's
I know. Well, I guess I'm not here.
I'm gonna try to call away. But, that's for Sunny.
Yeah, I know how much better for as far as trying to get that where the, I like this little yeah.
Oh.
There you go. You know what to do. Okay, twice.
I wonder if that's
Maneuver that
the,
around.
that native.
I think everybody did. Everybody can see the TV?
Mister's supposed to get those too.
Can you see?
Oh, yeah.
You gotta fit these things.
It is.
Don't make
Some of that money under the table that happens right now.
I'm wrong.
Hey,
Who Lindsay was like, I
You missed that.
well, well, they say,
but I remember seeing those and I was like, I don't know if they're supposed to get these, but.
I didn't even know I had to see it until they told us.
well,
Submitted it.
Should I not cash it?
No.
I didn't go to the doctor.
look, I never got glasses when I was 16. I put those glasses on for the first time. I looked around the world and I said, man, this is sure is a lot greener and all that and nicer than I thought it had been for.
I put them on my, can you see now? Yes, baby.
There you go. You're a smart man.
Debbie, no.
Which one? So all of these are like popped in, mine didn't pop up.
Our pastor's Ernie Bryce,
Because
she's connected.
So does she have to disconnect?
they live in,
I have a little window up there and connect your device and she's like, disconnect.
you know, have to go association or, I don't even remember association. Maybe now that's not a, it's not like a surrender or that's. For years, we had local ones like I made it.
I'll give you my copy. Start reading.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's just King's Fire. From the King. I'm not learning, so it's not like I'm trying to.
go down the hall.
I live in my district, if I was gonna give it to somebody, I'd give it to somebody that matters.
I have pictures in the district, call me, but I couldn't get to work.
I got this commissioner business, I put Brian Kirk's phone number below my car.
That's
I know what's all going on.
Do it. I get more phone calls from, it's like, unknown calls. They leave a message out, talk to me. It's just ridiculous.
How are you, young man?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. Good.
Oh, your girl's good? Betty too.
Good stuff right there.
Savannah, one class, Dial class, so, she's gonna come down to visit with Debbie, because she said Charles. So they're gonna do things and then, of course, Lauren's doing her kitchen thing, and Betty's the same every day. Where's most people? They live at Compton, right, in one of those little cul-de-sacs, and they're directly across from the driveway for the whole property. Gotcha. It's pretty much set, right?
Yeah, they got a nice little place, I've been out there before.
Yeah. It's, they've all, it still looks good. She is a big grade. Yeah. She asked me, I've got my granddaddy's 63 Fairlane tractor. Went through it. Bumper to bumper. We got it home, she Maybe 8 years old, and I suggested, I said, this is the card. All my brothers and sisters, all my cousins. Yes. It's 63 and 62,000. Oh, so. Been in the family since it was born. It had one of all this little stuff. Fair Lane, it had a guy. You know, I really think it's one of the prettiest body styles in Florida ever had, you know. It's a two-door postcard.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
But, you know, the problem is it doesn't have that 427 with the two barrels on it.
Yeah.
It's got a 176 cylinder.
It's okay. It's okay.
Driving at us, you want somebody to learn how to drive?
But that'd be good, especially for safety and also, gas, considering the price of it.
Well, she already, you know, that's what, her mom got so mad at me. This year I put a bail lift on the back of my, so I'm gonna drive up to the pasture where I kept hay there. And she backed up, she's got control in the front, she could pick it up, she just stopped. And then I'm gonna drive out to the road, and then we'd swap places, and finally I said, you think you can drive this? And she said, what will mom say? And I said, well, we just don't need to say that. I mean, I'm gonna drive 5 or 6 miles up the road, and she drive back. It worked good until we pulled in one day, and Lauren got there early. Interesting creature. Christine, you're doing the world a favor by having exposure before. When I've got 16 drivers, no problem. They can drive with their 7 or 8 kids.
All right, I just want to make sure I didn't miss
I
nothing.
thought probably
It was a big
a
deal
rough
for them.
draft,
No, that's fine.
She went to her first
I just want to make sure.
semi from
I was just gonna give the board an update.
Gotcha.
Very good. I sort of wondered about that, but I figured you had a plan.
Yeah.
It's
She's always got a plan.
just like too premature to,
Yeah.
we've got so much more stuff we're gonna be adding to.
Ready for it. That's right.
Yeah. 13 going on 20. So, I guess I'll keep it. Yeah. What that Watson trying to influence right here? All right.
I hear you.
When she ever comes up, Lauren's fussing about her. I just say, that's the Watson coming out.
I hear you. That's the way to do it.
Buddy?
Well, yeah.
Derek texted and said he's running a little late.
Tom always says,
All right. But I do think she did pretty well though with us.
still all right?
Oh, yeah.
It's fine.
I worked with him for several years over there.
You know, y'all are all part of that, Mr. Terrell's school and bank.
That's right.
He had already stopped taking the medicine.
You know, the world used a few more Mr. Terrell.
Mm-hmm. That could happen.
A friend of mine put something
It
on
was
Facebook.
a sad day.
Any suggestions? Nothing to work. She was asking about different government orders or something. I told her to reach out to you. Now she's there's some look the exact same, and he's like,
Then I have Johnny too.
his eye was still completely shut.
You know,
And look, I keep Johnny been good to me, but that's just like a different world.
Mr. Terrell was, I went to Morris Monday to build my house. And he just went out there and just moved his money.
Oh, yeah?
And I He said, oh, it's late today, we'll catch up with that later. So I went home, Debbie said, well, did you work it out with Mr. Terrell? When that's something, we got those in. So when I went to get my permanent loan, he walked in that, we was in there with the closing attorney and all that. He says, son, I just don't have any record of it letting you borrow it. And I said, well, you don't want to put that in my account. I made a note of it somewhere. And he stood there for a little bit. He said, now how much money did I give you?
Yeah, he told me when I went to work there, he said, I come back from going to Tennessee up there, banking school for 2 weeks, come back, and he said, I was talking to him, he asked me a question about it, and I tell him all stuff. He said, we used to just do these on amateur. Them compliance officers make us do all this. Make it move.
There's a small percentage of them they're allowed to do.
I know. Small, it's very small. We,
I guess his brother just got this mail on it.
Hey, how you doing there? Okay, good. Every 20 years I see a crowd, I get a little bit. I do too, but I was glad to see the day.
That's why we sit on this side of the table, because the shooting starts, people always pull to the right.
20 years for a back door and I ain't got one yet.
Everybody in the building wants a window too.
Everybody wins.
I appreciate it. You put forward here, like, a lot of it. Well, thank you. I mean, there's a lot coming through.
Everybody here thinks
Hey guys, don't forget. I don't mind those inserts at any point.
Oh, no, that's right. Leadership sits on there, married.
On over in the company.
Yeah, sure. Operation.
I've been working out for He'll be right, and I'll just be waiting.
That's part of that. Yeah, it's gonna be a long process. Comp plan is totally all about. We got 28 years. Oh, it's mine. Oh, okay.
Everything he's opened lately runs out. Mike, you know Christopher, you know Mike? I didn't know.
Yeah.
10 times a day or not, I want to formally introduce you. We prefer handwritten sentiments. Just a wow moment. Come on in, get you. Yeah. I did. I don't know that it'll keep up. We'll try. Ah.
Can't get here on time, just get your weekend.
I'm waiting on the time.
Yeah, I'm always waiting on engineers.
That's right.
Hey, you rescued me from a bad joke I was going to tell. I'm proud of you.
I'm just glad to see you.
I'm saying it's good.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, Dennis is wanting to trade. He's trying to talk Brian out of it.
I figure if I move over across the river, folks might be quiet over there.
Well, it is quiet in there.
I don't know how many people may be in the hallway, but you may need to roll your mics towards you for the speaker system in the hallway, gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Madison County Board of Commissioners regular business meeting, April 25th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Gentlemen, before you, you'll see the minutes from March 25th, 2022 special call meeting, the minutes from March 28th, 2022 regular business meeting, and the minutes from April 4th, 2022 agenda setting work session. Gentlemen, if you'll please take a second to look over those. I think most of you may already have had a copy. I'd ask for a motion to approve, or if there's any discrepancies, please state those.
Move these minutes be approved as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chandler, second by Mr. Kirk. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Dennis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, guys. Business involving guest groups or multiple visitors. Marilyn Hall, Hall Consulting.
Am I up?
You're up, young lady. Everybody's here to see you.
My name is Marilyn Hall, and I am the consultant that was hired. Are there people in the hallway? All right, perfect, good. I'm the consultant that was hired to do the comprehensive plan for Madison County, and I am here with Bobby Sills, who's part of my team. He's an expert in economic development and capital improvements planning. Not here are Charlotte Weber and Scott Scher with Luminar Consulting. They're also part of my team, and they are experts in engagement. They'll be doing the website. Charlotte is a historic preservationist, and among a bunch of other things, we all have, each of us has at least 20, 25 years of experience. My first job after graduate school from Tech was in Madison County. It's like homecoming of sorts. Anyway, that's beside the point. The purpose of this hearing, I don't know who to talk to. The purpose.
I actually believe it's to them. I think you spoke with us.
Okay, the purpose of this hearing is to introduce the community to the comprehensive plan. It's a required public hearing as part of the planning process, and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs requires this hearing. And I'm going to present the basics of what a plan is and more depth of what our process here in Madison County is going to be. I'm going to talk about, very briefly, talk about what is a comprehensive plan, talk about the robust community engagement program that we have planned for Madison County and the cities, go over the schedule, and then take questions, and for a certain amount of time that I imagine the commission will see when I have to stop talking. And I did mean to say this, that the plan, this comprehensive plan is a joint comprehensive plan. It's not for the unincorporated county like some of the previous plans have been. I think I should point this out again soon, but this is a joint plan. Carlton, Comer, Colbert, Isla, and Hall. Danielsville, and the city we're standing in. Thank you. And so the idea is to have individual towns and cities with their own unique characters, but also have a transition that makes sense. A lot of times, when you don't do a joint plan, you'll have a plan over here for a city and a plan over here for the unincorporated county. And then when you go to implement the plan, each jurisdiction does, it doesn't work out because there's fighting. I mean, if you don't know what's on the border of between the two and you don't work together, you can't accomplish the vision of your community. And so that's why we're doing this. That's why these folks and the leadership and all want to do this joint plan. Okay, so what is a comprehensive plan? It's a 20-year blueprint to guide growth. Blueprint, you think of details. This isn't really detailed. It's more of a big picture on guiding growth to help the leadership and county and community staff organizations make plans for the future and guide them for the future. It's especially going to be used for zoning decisions and capital facility decisions. It'll include things like population projections and transportation plans, and it'll pull it all together to give an idea, to give guidance for community leaders to make decisions. And it's required to be updated every 5 years. Again, this is a joint plan. The previous plan was not a joint plan. And it allows for state funding for things like CDBG funds and GFA loans and all the loans and grants and programs that are administered at the state level. You have to be a qualified local to have that, and to be a qualified local government, you have to have a comprehensive plan. So what are we going to do? My team and I and all of us together, we are going to develop a community vision. We're going to understand what Madison County and all 6 cities are like now and what future. We're going to look at existing development patterns. We're going to look at what are called the quality community objectives, and what those are kind of it's so simple to me because I've got
bunch of experience in planning, but it's a list of best practices for communities and planning. And so we'll look at those and assess whether Madison County is working towards accomplishing these. And then we're going to look at supporting analysis of data and existing reports, and this could be everything from the May Courts plan, transportation plan, to Athens, even like the Athens comp plan or Jackson County. You gotta know what they're up to, right? And the Greenway plan in Athens, is it coming here? Maybe we should take a look. And then identify potential issues and opportunities. That's one of the important things we do as part of community engagement program. Find out from the community what the issues and opportunities are in the county, and then we look at the data and see what we can do to make the vision happen. And as the implementation strategy comes into play. What does a comprehensive plan consider? Probably everything that you can think of or that's important to the quality of life in the county. Population demographics, like I said, we'll develop population projections. We'll look at economic development, housing. Is affordable housing a problem here in Madison County? Are there pockets of poverty that need to be addressed? Natural and cultural resources, are they being utilized or protected properly? Community facilities, so libraries and parks adequate? Capital improvements, water and sewer, has that been planned for appropriately? Of course, land use and development, which you think of when you think of a comprehensive plan. Intergovernmental coordination. That is how well the counties communicate with each other. I think you guys are making good progress internally, right? You're doing a joint plan. That means all the mayors are on board with working with the county to develop a good plan. Broadband services, that's actually required now by Dcpa, and transportation. A lot of stuff. And it's a comprehensive plan because you have to think about housing along with transportation, along with economic development. If you think of people working like the economic development people might be in a silo and the transportation people might be in a silo. It's our job to look at the whole picture and see how the pieces fit together. Now, what is in the plan? These are kind of, think of these as like chapters or elements in the plan. And the plan will include these things: the visions, goals, and policies that are developed through the community engagement process, the needs and opportunities that will be developed also through that process, a broadband services section. Oh, and if you have a broadband services section and a broadband ordinance, makes you eligible to get broadband money from the state, which is important. A community work program is the to-do list. So it's a 5-year to-do list that will say what the activity is, when it should be done, how much it should cost, and who's the responsible party for it. And these things like looking at just investigating the possibility of something like transfer development rights to protect farmland, or I don't know, other things. I'll know once I do the research and community engagement process. And then the other parts, every plan has population projections, economic development and housing, and natural and cultural resources, transportation, and land use will be included in the plan. Speaking of land use, we will be revising your character area map. And this is the map I was talking about. You see how these are just gray little blobs with no information in them? Your new map won't look like that. It'll include all the towns, and each town will have its own standalone version of this for just them. It'll help the leadership there make decisions about their community. We will identify any changes to the Unified Development Code and the zoning ordinance that may need to be made to implement the future land use in the character areas. And we'll have a future land use map also like this one that will be fully updated. So, how are we going to do this? Bobby and I would find it a lot easier to just come in and write your plan for you, but we're not going to do that. We're going to ask you what you want in it. So we've got a community engagement strategy, starting with a website called madison-compplan.com. And if you go there, it's not going to look great because it's really going to be launched tomorrow, okay? And we'll have flyers that the steering committee and other community members can distribute to neighbors and church members and whatnot. And there'll be a QR code that people will just hold their camera up to, and it'll take them to the website. We're gonna be doing about a dozen stakeholder interviews, and this is where we have one-to-one sit-down, usually in person. Bobby's located in Athens, and I'm located in Watkinsville, so doing in-person interviews is very easy for us because we're close by. And about a dozen of those folks will be chosen by members of the steering committee, which is next. We will have a series of steering committee meetings to help us understand the information that is coming to us through the community, to help us vet the implementation strategies. We'll kind of work together with them, be part of our team. And then public hearings. This is the first public hearing. We're having public hearings in every one of the cities starting next week. So comment right up. And there'll be comment forms and surveys available on the website. If you go to that website or you call Christina or your mayor or something, however you do your communication, you can't get online because you don't do online stuff, we'll get you a paper copy. We'll be sure it's included, all right? We'll do that. It's not a big deal. And that's the community outreach part there. The fun part, my favorite part, is the workshops. We are going to be doing visioning workshops as part of the hearings in each of the cities. For example, I'm going to Culver on Monday, and I'm going to be doing an abbreviated presentation like this one, and then and then doing an activity with people in the meeting there to talk about Culver within the city limits, what their vision for the future is. And you're going to be where, Isla next week?
Yeah.
Isla and Charlotte's going to be in Hall. So it's very good. And then we're having a series of workshops that we call strategic framework workshops. And I'd really like to give you more details on that, but I can't because this is kind of a fluid process. One meeting impacts what we do at the next meeting, depending on what information we need. I will promise you something where it's interactive and the people that are there will be engaged, they'll roll up their sleeves, they'll draw on maps, they'll tell us, they'll answer questions. It'll be not just me doing this. This is the last time I'm going to be standing up in front of you and talking for a long period of time. I can't promise that, but it's mostly true. And the final event will be an open house. I think it's going to be right here in this room.
That's what we haven't, that's the one we haven't booked yet because we're not sure of the amount of people, if we'll need to move it.
Okay.
So that one's going to definitely to be announced.
Okay. Great. And the open house is just that. It's an open house. Think of it like a job fair or farmer's market where there's stations, and each station will have an element of the plan, and you'll get to go and interact with one of the team members or maybe a community leader on that element. For example, we just did one in Monroe, and Bobby helped people understand the land use plan that was put together for the city, and I helped with the issues and opportunities. So we're there by the table, interacting as folks come in. And that's a drop-in, right? It's not going to be 100 people all at once. It will be several hours, depending on how many people we expect. And then we have a final draft, and it goes through the formal approval process that the state makes us do. Won't go into that. So a little bit more detail. City kickoff hearings, we'll do the visioning, and they're the first big visioning workshop is going to be in June, and that will be a county-wide visioning where we'll talk about the incorporated areas and share with you what we learned about each of the towns and see how we can make it all fit together for the vision of the county. And then a whole bunch of strategic framework workshops throughout the summer into the fall. By the end of October, we'll have a pretty good idea of what should be in your plan, and then we'll have an open house in December. You want me to back it up so you get a better picture? This presentation will be on our website tomorrow. Okay? And then the open house will look a lot like those pictures. Again, tables, interaction, an opportunity for us to learn from each other one last time. The public engagement schedule, city hearings, this is where we're going to be next month. You'll be in Carlton, sorry, I was wrong.
Culver.
I'll be in Culver. You'll be in Carlton. I'm going to do all at the end of the month. Anyways, and we'll do a little visioning at those as well as present mostly what we've presented so far. And finally, this is the schedule for the workshops throughout the summer and the fall. That last one says Madison County Government Building. That was me making assumptions. I won't do that again. My bad. It may be here, maybe somewhere else. The TBDs, I think that first one is expected to be hopefully in Danielsville, I think. I can't quite recall.
And it'll be off of Highway 106 towards the west side of county.
Oh, good.
And then the second one on October the 20th, it'll be in the Danielsville area. Those are just, we have to confirm those locations and times.
So we're
Get
trying to
permission.
Yeah, thanks. Trying to kind of spread them out through the county so they're not all right here or they're not all down by Athens. And I think that wraps up my presentation. Yeah. Tried to keep it short. So, does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, back to the city schedule, Comer wasn't listed, you ever
Yeah,
Thank you. Comer wasn't listed because there was a little bit of a communications issue. Comer's already started their plan, okay? But it's still going to be part of the joint plan, and I personally am going to go to the steering committee, or at least one of the first steering committee, the next steering committee meeting for Comer, and be at their event to make sure that they have a nice seamless plan that goes with ours. And I'll see you there. And so that they're having the regional commission help with theirs. And I went to the regional commission and sat and talked with them to make sure that we could work together on the Comer plan. I meant to bring that up into these lessons. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Drake. I've talked to you on the phone before, but, you know, one of our big concerns is public involvement in the plans you have. Looks like that is in the works. There'll be a lot of public involvement. But how are you going to reach everybody in each one of these communities? You know, I think you mentioned flyers and a few other things, but it's really important to try to get the word out to everybody so there's more than 3 or 4 people at these individual meetings. And I'm just wondering what steps you have in mind to reach out to everybody in each of these districts.
Well, we're going to do the best we can through social media, and I'll have pre-written flyers and social media announcements for the county and individuals to use. The flyers are, for example, if you want to take a flyer to your group or email it to your group, they'll be available digitally and you can spread the word yourself. What else do we do?
And by attending tonight, all y'all have volunteered to get out and get the word out.
There you go.
Drum
It's
up
on
business.
Derek. I don't have to do it. Derek. But the website should have it, and I understand a lot of people don't use the website and whatnot, so and there's a survey and opportunity on the website. Yes, sir.
I have an idea of how to get it out if the county will agree is, you know, we have a system that when there's tornadoes or things happening in the county, it's broadcast and everybody gets a phone call or whatever. So why not just do that when these meetings are coming up?
We can look at that, but that only works for people that signed up to be on that call list. So not everybody will still get it. Now, we have to do our due diligence as a community, you know, to reach out to others that we know of. And the participation level and the coverage that the Madison County Journal is going to give this is probably going to be the most interactive community involvement structure that's ever been done in Madison County's history, probably. And that's what I assume. Once that newspaper gets out there, you know, the report on this right here that Maryland's just done, word's going to get to talking, and we can very much use that 911 system, but keep in mind, people, if you're not registered with 911 to receive those texts, you must do that. That is your responsibility.
And I like to say, I'm one of the old guys, so I struggle sometimes, but with social media, you know, you can get the stuff out there, and so, you know, it's dependent a little bit on us. My plan is, as one of the commissioners, and what social, you know, information sites I have, I plan on putting all these flyers and stuff out there. I'm sure it's going to be where we can access those and move them into those real easy, like so.
Right.
And then everybody can share it a little bit, so that'll work out, I think, very well.
She had her hand up first. Yeah.
Well, I have a little suggestion.
Sure.
Like posters, angles, there's a common place a lot of people go to for hall, have a common place in Culver. You know, they have a sign out, you know, where it tells the people that, meetings are gonna be here.
Bobby, you write this down? Thank you. Ma'am?
I was just, as the meetings are starting next week, it seems like a pretty short notice to get the word out, like, today, and have people show up next week. It would have been better if it had been publicized more in advance.
Just to clarify, the public hearing, this is just a kickoff. We can't even start.
Yeah, we're not allowed to start public involvement after the hearing.
So the real important meetings are happening in June.
Ma'am, now it's your turn.
This is just a real basic question. Can you explain to me the role of DCA? Why are we doing this for DCA?
Okay, so the Department of Community Affairs
Right.
is DCA,
Right.
and they oversee a lot of grants and distribution of money for housing and infrastructure and things that cities and counties rely on. I think they even have to do with transportation funding. I'm not sure about that though. Yeah, okay. And they don't want people just asking for money without a plan. And so that's why they require planning to become a qualified local government.
But the plan is not legally binding.
It is not. However, if these folks make decisions based on a zoning decision based on the plan, it's through, you're a lawyer, so you know the word better than I do, but through years of these kinds of things happening, the comprehensive plan gives them authority to make zoning decisions, and it usually holds up in court. I'm sure there's a word for that.
Well, I don't know that. So the case law is the precedent, but I think when you're searching for it, it makes our zoning, this board's zoning decisions much more defensible if we have a comprehensive plan that those zoning decisions are consistent with.
What do you say?
That was a great question.
Yep.
Which would also mean that we've taken the public input into what the county wants to look like, so it's not just our decision, it's y'all's decision also.
Right. That's actually what DCA and gives it teeth, is all the community engagement.
Marilyn, I'd like to thank the team for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Both your team members.
Yeah.
And we'll see the other two just shortly, but thank you. This is exactly what we was proposed to do, was just initial start a conversation, make the public aware. Zach will do a great job, as always, following up with some of the scheduling, but we'll get it out there. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were here for that part of the meeting,
I want to add a little bit. I know we'll talk about the county website that she's creating. We're going to add that link onto the county government website, and then Ms. Anna Strickland, she's the Chamber of Commerce Director, she's in the back of the room. Her team has made a whole page on the Chamber's website just for the comp plan. So it's a beautiful website. I've already looked at it, and she's going to add all the links there. The surveys will be there. It'll be in multiple places for you to find.
all right.
Very good.
Mel, unless you want to stay for the next hour and a half, you are free to go, young lady.
I was going to hold it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again. Sheriff Michael Moore.
Well, y'all.
Good evening, sir.
So, I'm here a little bit about animal control.
Okay.
Chris, you have it back. I mean, for real, y'all want it, y'all have it. But this is the thing, you know, Danny reached out to me, a couple others. We are overpopulated. That's why we're getting complaints about dogs. We're not getting dogs. That's the reason. And I think you and Jeff talked a little bit about it.
Yes, sir.
So basically what we're going to do is we come to y'all pretty soon with some more funds for animal control. Probably looking at roughly $20,000. We're trying to cut it down, see what we need. We're going to add on to the kennels there now. So I think it'll give you 22 spots, I think is what we're going to do. So Right now they got 11, they leave one open for cleaning, rotate the dogs out for each time they clean. So I'll let y'all know a little about that. Be a carpool, I think. Gonna try to get the county to do most of the grading, the pouring of concrete, stuff like that.
Yeah, and Michael's correct, right now, the MOAS is full.
Yep.
And the kennels we currently have is 9 with availability of, I think, 8. We do not have a structure in place. And down this list here, we will discuss the ARP funding, but I did, Michael, put it on there.
Okay.
I may have put a little more than that in it because we wasn't sure what we were gonna
Well,
need.
this is just a rough estimate right
Yeah.
here.
I think we had projected like a 20 by 20, one of those carports with all the sides enclosed so it can have heat in it, need be, and then actually just rest of it being chain link and then grading and concrete.
Yeah, but one thing, you know, the state comes and, Chris, the state comes and inspects us, and we've been, you know, had to spend some money here lately on some stuff, just because of rusted chain link. So they got a copy the other day of a little bit of doing the kennels, but I think I'm gonna change it up a little bit. One of the problems we had when we were housing puppies, the bigger dogs reaching through getting a puppy, so I think we're gonna look at what it's gonna cost to block half of this, up about 4 foot, 5 foot, something like that, with maybe, you know, 16 block. I think that might be a little bit cheaper than the chain link, but once we get all that, of course, we're trying to do better on them getting calls. You got to understand there's two of them, and I have been using Ken sometimes for the road deputy, so I leave you with one who's struggling. We get a lot of calls, you know, they're not answering phone calls, we working on that. A lot of times they're not at the office, they don't stay at the office, because they got kennels to clean, plus they're out here, with the population growing the way it is.
Michael, I'll ask, just for the record, for the rest of the board, I was in contact with MOAS on that, and they're telling me, the young lady, her name, Animal Control.
Yeah.
Missy, that's right. They're saying she's running anywhere from 10 to 12 calls a day, you know, by herself a lot of times, just because there's that many people that don't keep up with their dogs.
That's it.
You know, a lot of them are recovered within 24, 48 hours when they figure out their dog's missing. And I hate to say this because we're in a rural area, but Georgia does have a leash law, and it would cut down on our services a vast amount if we could just get people to do the right thing with their animals. Now, I know they all escape, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But I know for a fact, from hearing from the sidebar conversation of how busy she is and how good a job she's doing. But, and me and Michael has discussed this, there's probably going to be a MOAS expansion at some point, and also along with yours.
Yeah, we're hoping so, because then the other problem we have, you know, we have to euthanize dogs.
That's right.
You know, that's right way to do it, and that's a way that we don't want to have to do it. So hopefully we get MOAS to help us out a little bit more. You know, that's going to take. If not, we're going to house it out to do it, and that's going to get pricey.
We have been transporting dogs also.
Yeah.
Actually up to the East Coast,
Yeah.
up northeast, and they do that in van loads. They'll take 30 or 40 of them at a time up the northeast coast. I guess there's a shortage of dogs up there. We don't have that problem here.
And one thing too is citizens realize, you know, we don't mind coming and getting the dogs, but we don't have a place for them all the time. But a lot of times, if they carry them, MOAS has to take them. That's mom and dad. So if you know, people helps out with that a little bit. You know, I know they don't want to put a strange dog in the car, but sometimes it helps out. That's how we get rid of them. And stray dogs, we got a population of pack of stray dogs running around, and it's just where people dump their dogs out on dirt roads.
That's what I was gonna ask. Are you seeing like a pattern of like where a lot of
It's
dogs are showing
everywhere.
up, or is it?
Yes, they were. Like over, you know, I got the farmer in Burr Phillips over there, and there's a pack of them over there.
And it's, do you see that it's mostly like people that are just letting dogs go, or?
I think a lot of us letting people letting them go, and then people with yard dogs that are also not on the leash are getting with these dogs.
Just taking off and causing trouble elsewhere.
Yep. And those, you know, one that cause the most problems, more than a regular yard dog.
Mike, I would add one more thing to that. In talking with Andrew Kitchens, the director of MOAS, we had over 1,000 intakes more than Clark County had last year.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe. And the only thing I could contribute to it is most college kids has their dog on a leash and they know where their dog is.
Well, that's we're out in the country, you know.
Yeah, and people let it roam free.
Yeah, my dog's always been free, but now, we got them up. But anyway, I just want to let y'all know, keep y'all on board kind of what's going on, what we are working on, so if you do get calls about the, they doing all they can do.
Sheriff Moore, I appreciate it.
And one more thing with Danny, Dennis, Carroll Apollo Road, they said over today, no trucks. So, they're gonna be over there at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Got a picture of one at 6:35 this morning.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I appreciate it, but this lady calls me at 10 and drive.
Well, there's a couple of them today.
Well, Mike, would be a good time to let Zach know in the paper.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trucks that stay off the no through trucks.
Well, no, seriously,
Yeah.
During these trying economic times, there's a lot of timber being harvested in the county, and the loggers have no regard for county roads or personal property because none of them live in the county.
Yeah.
So that they, obviously, I don't know how they pass the driver's test because they can't read no through truck.
And we've already talked to that one particular logging company about the trucks speeding up down through Sanford and down on Back Road and everything, so so citations is coming next.
I do appreciate that, Mike.
And have a good night.
And regarding animals too, I know that you've had several calls from Sanford community, and I think we inherit a lot of dogs from Athens, Clark County.
I think so too.
There.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Instead of people taking them to Athens, Clark County shelter, they put them out on dirt roads or dropping off somebody's house if they got kids or whatever, People don't want them.
We won't
Don't
even
bring
get
one
in
to
the
my house.
cat category.
Yeah.
It's triple folds dogs.
Yeah. It is. Thank y'all.
I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. So as most of you gentlemen know, and for the public, April has been a very busy month. First off, I want to start off with a letter that I received today. It was a thank you letter from Georgia Rural Water. Last Thursday, a class was held here in this very room for a Class 4 water operators training session, which 15 Madison County citizens attended and some employees from EPD. These certificates that these gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen, received at the end of that training class will let them work on small systems of under 400, which, for instance, could be Hull or Carlton or areas of that nature. Cartwheel, one of the local restaurants here, catered lunch for that group, and there'll be up-and-coming trainings held at the city of Carlton. Also, for the volunteer firemen that attended this training, they could use them for CEU for training hours. So it was a very, very good meeting. The training was conducted by John Tidwell with Tidwell Enterprises and Shane Hall, done the volunteer of American Cast Iron Pipe for this class. I forgot how many volunteer firemen was in it, but I was greatly proud to say that we could serve that situation and then better ourselves in general. Amanda Willis wrote this from the city of Carlton. I might have not have stayed, but that was part of the chairman's report, which is fixing to get long and lengthy. Sorry, it was a busy month. Diamond Hill Ballpark is nearing completion. I would like to add that we'll have 75 more parking places at Diamond Hill. That's roughly 25 on the top field, 50 on the bottom field. We are, hopefully by next week, we'll start adding the gravel because tournaments is coming quickly. I think there's some scheduled toward the end of the month. Recreation Department, Zach, you ran a great article last week on some young students that helped out over there. The students that donated their time during spring break to help pressure wash the facilities and paint the buildings. A lot of the dugouts around the baseball fields and the T-ball and the rec department, concession stand area, and even some of the pavilions. Matthew Bond, Brooke Hooper, Candace Brake, Thomas Lord, Leland Sauls, Kylie Schubert, Chair Strickland, Brooke Tanner, Jared Wiley, Audrey Sarton, and J.C. Turner. Thank you so much for volunteering your spring break to help Madison County Rec Department. The Recreation Department will have completed by tomorrow the new playground surfacing. It's called Kids Safe mulch. You know, we will be venturing into looking at rubber mulch in the coming years. Just right now, it was not something that we could proceed to do in this particular year's budget. This kid-free mulch has been placed at Sammy Haggard Park, Diamond Hill Park, Brewer Phillips Soccer Complex. I seen it today versus what we've been using in the past, and for liability purposes, we think we can keep our kids a little safer knowing the depths of the mulch. That's a lot to do with this, is the fall height versus the depth of the mulch. I like to say the rebound effect for small children. The Comer EMS station, I know y'all seen that the slab is poured, and you're going to hear me continue to give you updates about this, but I feel like the public needs to know where we're standing on some of these projects. Right now, there's a back order on the trusses, and we're not to receive those until sometime in June. Also, the trusses for the food bank, we will be ordering them later this week, and we're expecting the delivery time to be somewhere late June, early July. Evergreen Solutions conducted a Zoom interview April 19th and 20th with county employees, providing feedback on our current pay and classification practices. May 10th, 11th, and 12th, Evergreen will conduct an in-person focus groups by department. They anticipate a completion date of June 30th. Just in case, just to break that down for you, that is the group that's looking at our wage study throughout the county, different departments, and what that's going to look like. Arpeggio meeting was held April 20th. April 20th, Arpeggio is planning to present a draft ordinance in the next 2 months. Arpeggio plans to begin field studies through the county over the next month. A public hearing will be conducted during the month of August or September for public input. The Board of Commissioners will post an ad for public when the final date is set. So this is the noise ordinance, and he's gone. This meeting went very well. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, it was under the chairman's report. They didn't know it was going to be brought up, but it was very insightful. Derek was in attendance, Christopher, myself, Christina, and several others. I think we are on the right path with making that happen. Tire Amnesty. It's going on from April 1st through May 7th. We are on a third tractor-trailer load of tires that's been collected throughout the county. Y'all know, you heard me say last year we collected over 42 tons of tires. I don't know where they're coming from, but if you see tires in your area or on your property or near your property, please pick them up and bring them to the Madison County landfill. We will dispose of them for you for free. This does not include tractor tires. These are vehicle tires.
We will take the tractor tires if you piece them.
Is that what it is?
Cut them into smaller pieces.
Okay.
I got a 36-inch maximum.
Okay. I'm probably going to, Krista, don't I? That's in the road department. Anyway, I'll get back to them. Teresa Patton with the P&Z department has compiled a list of parcel discrepancies throughout Madison County. The discrepancies I'm referring to is the difference between what Q Public shows your property to be zoned at and what the zoning book shows your property to be zoned at. As of the completion of the list, we feel like we're 99.9% done. There's 2,643 discrepancies. 2,643. So if you look on Q Public and it says your property's RR, but you know in your mind that it's A1 or A2 or anything different, we are fully aware of it. This is a process. This process of just compiling the list of 2643 took about 6 weeks, 8 hours a day, constantly searching. The process requires several steps. This is not going to be an easy fix. This is once we determine the 2643, now we have to go to the zoning book, the Bible they call it down there, and we have to make sure it corresponds to Q Public. If it does not, we have to go to the tax assessor's office. We have to verify what they have corresponds to the book, and so forth and so on through the deeds and records of the clerk of court to make a final determination what your property was originally zoned at, potentially in 1964, that may stand true today, but may have got somewhere along the line miscommunicated between one of those 4 steps. I will tell you that this has already started the correction process. If you see on Q Public that your property has changed status from what it has been in the past, know that it's because we found the corrected statements, and we have made the corrective action to change those. So, just letting everyone know that that's a job. Now, when I say that, let me add this last little line. That did not include parcels that did not meet conformity. Let's just say an A1, that your property is owned A1, but it's 3.5 acres. That did not fall into these 2643. There's another 1,000 or so that probably is incorrect zoning. Means, when I say, let me define incorrect zoning. Say it started out as 20 acres, you cut 2 acres out for your son, he got his rezone to cut that out, and you built him a house, but you never changed the zoning classification for that 2 acres for your son. It stayed A1, which actually could not happen because it does not meet the minimum of the 5 acres. So we have a lot of discrepancies in that area. This did not happen overnight. This has been a long process, but I want the public to know that we are addressing the issues to make corrections. Told you it'd be a long report. By the way, not all this happened in my office. A lot of it.
That's it.
That's it. Good.
One page.
I think she actually rewrote that 4 or 5 different times because we kept adding to it. Statements and remarks from citizens on tonight's agenda. Anyone? All right. We'll go straight into old business. Consider timber harvesting ordinance. I think everyone's aware of that ordinance. It's something to state change. Christopher or Mike, one of the 2 of you. Thank you, Miss Anna.
Call me out.
I did. Hang on. For anybody that don't know Anna Strickland, that's her right there. That's the rock star from the Chamber of Commerce.
Great meeting, thank you.
Don't blush. Girl's awesome. So, we've discussed this. This is a formality from the state in which we will adopt. Correct, Mike?
Yes, sir, correct.
All right, do I have a motion to adopt the timber harvesting ordinance?
So moved.
Second motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Dawson, second by Mr. Chandler. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
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 Thank you so much. Consider approving the amendments to the beer and wine ordinance. This is not a new ordinance. This was an amended ordinance just to clean up the current ordinance we have in place. Any questions, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the amendments to the beer and wine ordinance.
So this is presented, all of the red writing will be added, and then the strikes will be removed.
That's right.
The black writing will stay as is. Then, should the room pass later on, it will be amended again to reflect that.
Exactly. And I think it's next month that the chairman wanted us to bring back what will be added if that referendum passes.
So actually, Monday, we'll present it to the board for discussion, referendum and the new amendment. So I'll do the referendum, and then the second amendment together. So you'll see both of them together.
Yeah, this is actually the first step of a two-step process.
What we're talking about tonight, the amendment to the current ordinance cleans up and puts in better provisions that we've been needed to have.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I make the motion to do this as presented.
I have a motion by, Mr. Doster. I have a second by Mr. Kirk. Any questions? Any discussions?
Just thank you for the work that went into this. Good job.
I was fixing it, that's my exact statement. Mike, thank you. Christina, thank you. These amendments to these ordinances don't just magically happen. There's a lot of backstory to this stuff, and these two have done a great job. I'll brag on you later, Christopher. You wasn't part of this one. That's so you know. All right, Frank Mason.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Consider amendments to the policy for the acceptance of private roads into the county road system ordinance. Mike, any clarity?
No, sir. I think Christine and I have been working on this one up to the deadline, but I think this is the final product.
Yeah, this is the one that we started with several months ago. This is just the acceptance of private drive policy.
Oh, this is not the one I was thinking
No,
of. So this
that's
one's been,
coming in
you're
just a
right.
minute, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right.
it's coming in a
So
minute.
this is what it's the same thing as the beer and wine. What's black is what stays, what's red is what's added, what's stricken through is what's taken out. And this was just an old ordinance that we had that needed to be made current.
If I can say, comment, I had a call today from a friend who lives in another county in our area, asking about this issue and has not been able to get any answers from her government, and apparently they do not have anything like this, and so I got to tell her how it should work.
I'm glad Madison County has a bragging point. We have a lot to brag about.
Well, I appreciate the work that's gone into this, and I'll make a motion to accept this as presented.
Second motion.
Motion by Commissioner Doster, second by Commissioner Chandler. Gentlemen, any discussion? Hearing none, Brian?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Well, y'all make my job easy, thank you. Consider an amendment to the American Rescue Plan Act 2021 budget. Did I skip something?
No, I didn't, I'm sorry.
I'm on number 8.
Yes.
Gentlemen, this is the 2021 budget that we had to amend for the rebuild of the BOE building. We just have to show an allocation for an amendment for that building only. That's the only money that was spent in 2021.
Right. That was the email you sent to us. You
Yeah.
said that's line up.
I have a motion to approve the amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the ARP fund amendments for the designation of the Board of Elections is what we defer as the BOE, not
Yeah.
the other state-run agency.
Thank you, Derek. Motion by Commissioner Doster. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Smags. Gentlemen, any questions or concerns? Hearing none. Derek? Dennis?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy, appreciate you. Consent of the 2022-2023 health insurance policy. All right. So this was several meetings back and forth, negotiation again with Cigna about our health insurance. Cigna, as most everything in 2020 has, went up. We set a percentage figure that we did not want to exceed. I think they wanted to go up on us 20% based on our claim ratio, to pay-in ratio. I refused to go higher than 10, and they came back at a 9.9, which Matt Bidwell, recommended that we take that because we probably wasn't gonna get any better considering the inflation rate right now. So, with that being said, we just have to, actually, we do need to vote on this tonight, yeah, because he's coming to explain everything to all the employees.
Is this what he needed? Dake asked for it to be voted on tonight so they could get things set up for open enrollment for employees.
That's
To begin
correct.
in May.
So, I just got one, well, I'll wait until after, that's good.
Yeah, that's fine. Gentlemen, do I have a motion to approve the 2022-23 healthcare policy, health insurance policy?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Kirk. Second by Mr. Adams. Discussion.
I just wanna know, was there anything that substantially changed as far as the employees' coverage?
No.
No.
Made it any worse, or is it basically the same thing?
This is the exact same coverage that we've had, it's just the initial premium increased on the county 9.9%. Which actually, Mr. Bidwell, MSI serves other county governments, and they didn't negotiate as hard as we did, and actually paid a higher increase. So,
All right.
Do we know the difference in the percentages, generally speaking, between what was just
It's a 9.9.
additional cost, yeah, but out of that 9.9, what additional cost is based on just general cost increases and everything versus claims?
honestly, it was both.
Yeah.
In sitting with Matt, he really felt like we wasn't gonna get less than 20, because he did have some large claims. It was just 2 or 3 particular people, but they had some catastrophic surgeries, versus our pay-in rate. So I was really celebrating when I found out it was 9.9, but to answer your question directly, it was both. It was claims versus just cost increases in general.
So looking on page 3, it has about a 13% increase in claims to premiums.
Yeah.
That's part of it, and the rest of it's.
So they make money on us just not as much as they would like to.
Correct.
Well, when you look
That's insurance, isn't it?
when your loss pay ratio, when they use 90.17% of what premiums were to pay out in claims, I'm surprised that 20% was even the starting number that they wanted to negotiate with, because it could have been substantially higher than that. They're looking for something, anything over about 76 to 79%. The shareholders aren't making money.
That's exactly what was stated. Was you there?
No, but I listened to the same folks say the same thing.
Oh, okay. All right. That was good. But really what done it, gentlemen, is it was fresh on their mind from last year that we wasn't scared to go out to bid and that we would hold our feet to the fire, because it's all about dollars and cents.
Okay.
So I have a first and second. So Dennis.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Discuss an ordinance for construction of new private roads. Now, this does not need to be voted on tonight.
It can be. It's been discussed several meetings.
Okay.
And it's in a format to be voted on. This is what Mr. Pruitt sent us today.
Oh, okay.
But it went before the board. They received it. They discussed it in 2 meetings prior to this one. So if they like it, we can vote on it. If they don't, me and Mike can change it some more.
Or they may just need more time to look at it.
That's right. Yeah. It was completed as of today.
That's right.
So y'all may have not had a chance to see this. What I would recommend is there absolutely is no hurry to wait till May 2nd for vote. That way everybody has a week or so to read over it. It's
Yeah. I think it's good.
But this is all based on best building practices in regards to road work.
Yeah, I'll defer to Christina on that. You did the technical parts.
Yes, I did, yeah.
And I did some cleaning up of legalities here.
here, so.
So what, Alan and myself did, we sat down and went through our subdivision regulations on the grade to build paved roads and subdivisions. That's where we got these measurements, because we couldn't take what the subdivision regulation said and made it steeper than, because then it would contradict the two. So we just made it the same. So in the future, if we wanted to change one, we'll have to change both. But it's all broken out. If you wanted to build a private road today, you could take this and it's step by step. It talks about footage. It talks about designs. It talks about compaction ratings, the surveys you've got to turn in. You've got to get a road name, the process to get that approved, where to put the sign at. I mean, it's all in here. What the minimum requirements are.
Even somebody that meets these requirements, this is still a private road
Correct.
until the process occurs.
Yes.
Right.
To be adopted by the county.
Yeah,
And then at that point, they would have to again meet those requirements to be up to that.
And that is spelled out at the bottom of page 3, section 58-185. So this would apply to any, so private road would mean any access that serves 2 or more residences. So basically, there would be no having a lower standard and skirting your subdivision regulation requirements for a road. The only exception being if the 2 residences are owned by immediate family members.
What this also does, it clears up a lot of legality issues that we've had to reciprocate back to from a road that was built 12 feet wide with a 20-foot easement, and then if they want the county to adopt it, then those homeowners have to go out and get all the homeowners to agree they want to change from 20 foot to 60 foot. Now it's laid out. If you're going to build it, this is the standard. You'll build it before we'll even discuss it. And it's going to cut down a ton of work for not only the office staff, but for people like Christopher and Alan, because now Alan will be on site. He can say that the road is good, road's not good, but we've had a lot of, over the years, we've had a lot of people that'll come in and even pave a private drive, but it may just be 12 feet or 14 feet. Then when it starts falling apart, they want the county to adopt it. Next thing you know, we got to widen it. Next thing you know, we have to pull new ditches and move utilities. This says, guys, if you're going to do it right up front, and then we'll talk about it.
Speaking of that, utility lines, there's an appendix attached to this ordinance, and it tells you where to put everything, the sizing, how far out, your compaction percentages. So it tells you where to, you're going to put a sidewalk in, a storm drain, a water line, a cable line, phone line. So it tells you where.
Cable companies won't be going down the middle of the road like they did on East Road.
Right.
Or under the road.
Yeah.
We done that part for Derek, because we knew that right there was the drawings of the engineering stuff.
Some
Engineering stuff. But, to be honest with you guys, we had to put something in place that John Smith, the baker, but he wants to build a road for several family members, had something that he could visualize and understand without going out and hiring an engineer to do it.
But based on this with easement requirements and all, the easement cannot be counted as part of the lot size. Isn't that correct? Right.
Well, that's over in subdivision regulations.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
But to keep someone who wants to divide their property so that we don't get sub-acre and a half or 2 acre lots.
Gotcha, yeah.
This protects the county in that regards also. And it's our intent to vote on this next Monday then?
Yes, Monday the 2nd. Another thing to add to Mr. Chandler, you were talking about the accepting these roads. The county, these won't come up for adoption for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, if it's not constructed properly, the county will obviously be able to see that.
And this in no way should indicate we are encouraging the use of private drives. If anything, it would indicate that we're discouraging.
Correct. Multi-shared drives.
Yeah.
Multi-shared drive, yes.
Private drives accessing more than one residence.
Yeah, I'd say maybe another way to say it is we're removing the incentive for people to do private drives because in the past they've always been able to do cheaper than they could do a road built correctly.
Now, correct me because there's been so many policies we've rewritten lately. This is also the one about individual, family member drives? Is this in this one?
Yep, that's on the very last page of this one,
Okay.
under the exceptions 58 and 86.
So you all have an opportunity to read that too. And, never mind, I'll get to it in a second. So gentlemen, we'll postpone item number 10 until May 2nd. You'll see it reappear on the agenda. I would like to say thank you to Alan Wazemski. Christopher, you've been a big help on this. Christina's been massive help. Mike, thank you for the clarity and the legal verbiage of it. But there's been several roundtables of 4 or 5 people to make this happen and to make sure that it corrects future problems for Madison County. There is a side note to this, if I'm still right on the right one we've done lately. The driveways, the dirt roads currently, and the private drives we addressed a minute ago. 134 private drives we know about, 200 and close to 300 private drives we don't know about. If we have to act on this in some way, whether the gentlemen decide to make changes or not, but it will prevent more dirt roads that we already can't afford the ones we got. That's the key to this. When you have 300, 134 in the back burner, this will say, guys, if you want to build it, that's fine. You just got to build it this way because we can't afford to come in and keep fixing your mistakes. We can't do it. This should make every taxpayer in the county very happy. And the loophole for families will also.
Yeah. If I could make another editorial comment,
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'll shut up, but
Sure.
I mean, private roads have been a problem as long as I've been county attorney. I think this is the first time, and all credit to the chairman, that somebody has said, well, let's at least shut the barn door. So then we pay it where it is, and we don't have more of them in the future.
Discuss the Madison County Road Standard Policy.
So, this stems from Mr. Dolster's comments a few weeks ago. I had started putting this together, and I kind of gave Terry a bunch of information. I started putting it together, and I didn't like it. I don't want it to be something that the road department can't use. So I showed him kind of like an example of what I put in my office. So anybody pull it up, and I want to do a true index, but a lot of it is going to be pulled from the subdivision regulation standards. And then as our board votes on these things, I can add those to that. Me personally, I don't have it pretty enough to show y'all yet. I don't like to show you what form that it's in. It's not ready. But it is being worked on. If you ask for it, I'm putting that stuff in there. I'm putting anything that has anything to do with the road in there. So even our utility encroachment permits, putting that in there. So we're working on it. That is a lot, and that will be a big manual to put together.
Yeah, the question I had, wasn't the reason that we began talking about that road standards because it's referenced in other ordinances or whatever?
Yes.
It's in its own rules.
It's
in zoning ordinance.
It's in
So it's just,
our ordinance.
it's
It's in the BOC, our county ordinance. It references a roads ordinance.
So this,
That's what you just voted on, to rename that as a road standards policy, and that's what we're going to make.
that's right. So this is just to clarify what that road standard policy
It's the same information in another location.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This will not actually be new requirements. This will be a compilation of existing requirements for the convenience of the public.
Yeah. So it's all in one spot.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, if you have any
Basically a
road
how-to manual.
Yes.
But it also gives us an opportunity. One of the things I thought that was missing was, when we think about subdivision, we think about homes, but there's other type of developments, and the designations of the traffic that's on there may elevate that road. It still may have homes on it, or in the area, it may elevate it to what we would consider not a residential, but a minor arterial road, which may need additional treatment or, additional compaction. Different types of technical approaches.
And that is something that me and Alan talked about when I first started putting this together, and this is what I expressed to Commissioner Chandler. I didn't feel like it was what you were asking for, because that you're wanting that true detailed, that you can turn to Chapter 3 and it's everything for an industrial parking lot, or your A-cell, D-cell lanes. It's everything, so we don't have to go out and try to find the answer. That there's a book that says all that. So that's why I said it's going to take me some time to pull all that, put all that information together. While you're talking about that, this is not off topic, but we're working on a driveway ordinance and permitting process. I've talked a lot with Christopher and Alan about this, and I know it come from Alan, but it said a lot about the A-cell, D-cell lanes in that. Do you want me to take that to that extent? Because I've got the Georgia DOT driveway permitting book, and I'm trying to create an ordinance for Madison County from that book, but there's a lot in there. I don't know to what extent you are wanting.
Well, to back up and say it's gonna have everything in it,
Yeah.
don't think you'll ever get anything in it, because there needs to be engineering judgment
Yeah.
and those things from those professionals that bring that to the table. However, a good to very good general guidelines of what we're doing, and if we need to caveat like A-cell, D-cell lane, some of that becomes on, you know, it's kind of hard and fast if it's a certain speed. You know, if a road's a certain speed, then it's typically required.
Yes.
Then it also falls back to the amount of traffic, average annual daily traffic. So you may have a road that seems like you would want it, but if there's not the data there to support that, then there's really no need to do that, versus some that you would think, oh, you would never put one out here, but if it's got enough traffic on it, you would want it. So some of that needs to be engineering judgment at a later date.
Yeah, in this conversation, a good example, and I don't mean to pick on our friend Dave that appeared before us a week or so ago, but that particular development's a classic example of this, that if that number of homes is built, not on the feeder road into it, but when it connects to the Colbert-Danielsville Road, particularly with the limited sight vision, the number of additional vehicles that are going to be added in and out, that would be something that should come under our consideration there, because it just warrants.
So to add to that, when you voted on the industrial park on 98, right at the county line, that's when I reached out to Georgia DOT. I believe you were on a Zoom meeting. We did a Zoom meeting, and it's a District 1 representative. He was super nice. He said if you ever have any questions about any D-cell lanes, to contact him. He could give us like a recommendation letter. So in this driveway ordinance, because the Georgia DOT has so much in there, like you said, speed, number of trips per vehicle, Georgia DOT rates it 10 trips per vehicle a day. So for something for the board, obviously not to decide tonight, but for y'all to think about and email me would be great. If you want to require, if there's so many, a development with 20 or more homes, to require a letter from DOT stating if they need an A-cell, D-cell lane, or something of that, some kind of number, so I can consolidate Madison County a driveway ordinance instead of that full manual that the Georgia DOT has. So that, like you said, it's a smaller version to where we can ask a true engineer or request engineer plans.
Christina, we can, speaking to everybody, in that ordinance, you know, we can have a bottom line segment that said at the discretion of the BOC, it can be advised to refer to DOT. Because as I was on that same Zoom call, DOT will evaluate county roads, city streets. It does not have to be a state highway for them to do that. They offer that service free of charge for any road. So instead of getting too deep in the weeds with what we want, as long as you'll leave that as per considered each
just make it a
individual time.
requirement that they gotta be evaluated.
Well, did you, William, just hear that? That sounded like a great opportunity to use that for subdivision plat reviews.
Well, that's
that criteria that tool to use them to assess the traffic or the need for A-cell, D-cell lanes coming into that.
Yeah, the burden for that should fall on the developer and not on the county.
Yeah.
That's at the
Well,
end of the day.
and that's what I said, we require evaluation as part of it.
It's just, it would all, and I'm sure Mike can help us on this, but that really is going to depend on, are we talking about an individual's driveway?
Well, and that's-
subdivision, because if you got an individual's driveway, then we would have to get deeper in the weeds with, okay, is it on a hill, what's your line of sight, what's your speed
And
limit?
this is, I'm really glad that I brought this up, so y'all see how
Me
we
too.
have found a squirrel on the wall, and this is exactly what happens in our office, because as Mike knows, when you change one little thing and you think that's great for this, it also applies to so many areas, so then you either have to broaden it or narrow it, and that is why I ask y'all so many questions every day with emails. What do y'all think of this, and what about that? And then we ask Mike, legally, what's the number? So there's a lot of work.
Stop asking.
Yeah.
We'll find out later if it's.
We'll definitely get it together. I would like to, and I appreciate some of the comments that's been made here today, but that does give you some guidance.
Yes.
And then I think we could put that one liner at the bottom that says, you know, on a per case basis, refer to, and that can be the part that the BOC administered. Sir, you're gonna have to go to DOT and require that.
Yeah.
It may not be for the next guy, but you, sir, because of your land lay and because of the volume of cars, we're requesting you do this, and it'll already be in writing.
And I just want to make one statement about the fact that we're looking at this stuff, and I think it's already been talked about, that we're one of the counties that are looking at some stuff other counties our size, or maybe even a little bigger, haven't looked at with limited staff. So
Yeah.
I appreciate all that y'all do, because some of these got a lot more staff people to get involved in chasing down all the rabbits, but we don't. So I appreciate y'all doing that and put that together.
You're welcome.
No, I said well put.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
And of course, that includes Michael too, because I know we
No.
aggravate him a lot.
No, not me. I was complimenting staff as well. I mean, this board is rightly so, really advancing the county. But you're doing it with a staff that hadn't changed that much.
That's good. All right, so number 11 on tonight, we will not take a decision on it until we get a little further into it. You will see it appear in the future. No, sir.
Trying to get on that.
Road updates. Gentlemen, what you got, Dennis?
Martin Griffith Road, we've got some shoulder erosion there. There's been a mobile home moved in, I think it's at 193, 194, where it's broken off, and then there is a pothole, at the intersection of the Nowhere Road and the old Isla Road, Nowhere Road, Old Isla Road, and Lucky Jones Road all come together there at one place. And we really need to look at what's going on there, because, for about 10, 15 feet back on the side roads, it needs some attention.
Yeah,
It's beyond trying to patch potholes.
We've already been addressing that and our options. It's probably gonna have to mill that out right there and then build it back and then resurface it because of the dip and because of that water valve and that low shoulder right there.
So that's the other end.
This is the other end.
Oh, the other end. Oh, okay.
That's what I was about to say. Did you see that on Lucky Jones? Is that what you were asking?
No, this is on the other
I
end.
know, but have you seen the other end
No, I
on
haven't.
e-commerce? They've extended that out.
I have not seen
That was one of your requests last time, and
Yes.
they addressed it
Yeah.
quickly.
Thank you.
All right, got you down, Terry.
Just a couple of things, and road department is already working on these. Whenever I call them with a concern, they're already aware of it and probably already worked on it. But Eastco Road was one that I mentioned earlier, where the cable company actually went in and they put a cable right down the road, and that has been an issue. And Alan and Derek are aware of that. They were waiting for the road conditions to dry so they could do a better job of correcting that. They are aware of it. Timberlane Trail, they're ready to move equipment over there, so we're excited about getting that started.
You spoke with him lately about Timberlane?
I talked to Alan Saturday about it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because
So people up there-
locates is called in.
Yeah. So the people up there have been very patient, hoping for that to begin, and that's looking good. Rogers Mills subdivision, just a couple of things, because we've been talking about that easement issue there. There's a pothole, a pretty bad pothole at one of the entrances. Also required about, speed limits in these subdivisions. What's our policy on that? I know countywide, the maximum is 25. So what is the policy on, requesting specific speed limits within subdivisions? Or
That is through the sheriff's office,
does it go through-
100% sheriff's office.
Okay. And also along those lines, and this was mentioned to me by outstanding planning and zoning commission member that we have. And this is just, we're thinking about roads. In subdivisions, is it a reality for us to think that, for us to consider the possibility that the homeowners associations maintain those roads themselves? For us not to, we assume that we're gonna accept those whenever the subdivision is completed, and that's sort of standard procedure, but is that an area that we wanna consider, in the future, that those roads stay part of the homeowner association's responsibility? It's just we don't need to discuss that tonight, but just a thought to chew on. And,
Mike said, please don't.
Well, I was just thinking, what jumps to mind is gated subdivisions. That's how, and sometimes developers want to have a gated subdivision yet make it a county road, and of course you cannot do that. So that's usually where that choice is made. If you want it gated, it's going to be your road and the HOA maintains it.
I'll bring it out, point out that I appreciate that kind of thought process that's asking us, can we do better, or is there a better way? So I appreciate that very much.
Well, in one of the ordinances tonight, that was addressed, or in that construction. Currently, if you build a subdivision and you have a bond for your road, at the time that subdivision is completed, it actually didn't even get completion on a lot of the subdivisions, but once the build out got done, the roads automatically reverted to the county. It was written as once the final plat was approved, we accepted the road. The road ain't even been built yet. So we addressed that in the issue to where now that road not only has to be completed, but the subdivision itself has to be fully completed. The last nail has been driven. At that point, you wait 12 months, because what we've seen, and I saw it in my subdivision, halfway through the subdivision, one of the guys builds a house, the roads are paved, and the roll-off dumpster just gouges the street. Well, guess what? That was my problem, because I hadn't turned them over yet, because the city done this. So now we're saying last nail, 12 months after that, if the road is still in assumable shape, then at that time they will revert, not just to get your bond released. Because right now these guys will put up a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 bond, and they want that money back quickly on that road, so they like to try to turn it over as fast as possible. So that some of the reasoning behind that 12 months was to make sure that the fine-tuning of the wording in there said completion plus 12. Is that it for Frank?
I haven't heard any road numbers.
I know we went out and looked at some issues over there, and the guys were addressing it today on some water flowing there, going back to the duplexes across from Joy Baptist Church off of Carey.
Well, there is one more, sorry.
Yep.
Drakewood Road.
Okay.
Two things. There's some pretty significant potholes that have been patched before. A little bit of a water issue. I don't think that's a big deal, but there's some through truck traffic that's creating some of that.
Okay.
Live haul trucks.
Y'all went and looked at that today?
No, they took care of it last Tuesday or Wednesday. We rode out and took care of the water problem off of Glen Carey, turn it down where you can go into the duplexes back in there. I can't remember the name of that road, but there was some waters flowing into a lady's garage. She built the garage.
Oh.
And she put a driveway pipe in, but she built a driveway pipe, part of the reasoning. Driveway pipe's higher than the ditch, so it started to water into her new shop. This is part of the driveway permitting process, so a guy will come out on site and tell you, you go this deep or this deep in the process. But anyway, they did take care of it for you. Right. Brian?
All right, well, I've already talked to Alan, but Broad River Road, it needs a lot of stuff down there, and, it's just facts of the way the ditches were originally cut, it's tough.
Understand?
But I have a lot of people call me about that one, so I just maintain sort of some focus on that. And then, just sort of relate something also. I had a person call me about a road in my district that actually starts in the city and is totally owned by the city, except where he's purchased at now, it's still called that same road, but evidently in the past, the county had done some work on that road. But in research on that, we found that, well, at least that's Al and them found, and Lacey and some of them looking at it, that that road was never ever taken as a county road. We have no evidence of it, that it's ever done that, but we've worked on it. And so that has created some issues that people are very unhappy and don't understand. So I'm dealing with that, but that's another thing that I think we need to, you know, I don't know, this is going to help to clarify in the future of what roads that we're taking in, because evidently in the past we have done some maintaining on some roads that we should not have done that was probably illegal. I don't know if it's always been illegal or not, but
Well, I think it was more of a good faith effort that they may have done. I don't think they actually.
well, I don't think they were doing it illegal.
I know.
But I'm just saying, has that law been in effect for
We're not
years?
private property.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a long-standing law, as I recall, that, use county resources on private property, but then there are also issues of implied dedication, and I'm looking at the chairman, and I think you know what I'm talking about, so these may be the ones that are best discussed on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and I think that is, but.
And you know, there may be some case law that'll stand behind that if we did start maintaining it over a period of years, that we may have just inherited it whether we wanted to or not.
By default.
Yeah, by default.
Right.
And I have no problem looking at this. I mean, it may be something very simple that we can.
Well,
take care of.
and we may not have an issue. It may be clearly that we got all the things, but it's
Have
just
you given
something.
Alan the address?
Oh, Alan's
He's fully aware of it.
Alan's fully aware of it. The only reason I bring it up is that, you know, we might be hearing some more about that, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Anything else, brother?
No.
Okay, Derek?
I sent Alan a few, early, or middle of last week, so I think he's taking care of those, and just for those that, not our effort, but it's still part of our tax dollars, the state's paving 72, and it's looking so much better.
It was time.
It is past that.
Good job on 174.
Yeah, 174 looks good.
98's supposed to be starting. I don't have the exact date. They just keep telling me it's gonna be in a couple of weeks. That's all they keep telling me. All right, road updates from my side of it. Neil Schaefer has completed the road study, and they're preparing their findings now, compiling all the information. Hopefully May 2nd, I've requested them by that, to give us a copy, that I can distribute here at the meeting room. This will be something for you to take home and review. He's also gonna have meetings with every city so they can have copies of it, and then he can explain that process, but he'll also do a presentation to us. He's actually going out of town, and he's not for sure he's gonna get it on the 2nd, so I said, you know, if you do, I'd love to have a copy dropped off at my office, distributed, so you guys could be looking at it. Holman Archery Road, the road department is working on a strategy to correct and repair the issues occurring at the intersection of Holman Archery and 129. If any of y'all been down that way, you've seen the two codes where the shoal looks like it's washing away.
Is that county or state? We outside of state highway.
We determined it was county.
Yeah, it is a culvert pipe under that. We are looking at, luckily, it was oversized, twofold. It's got 84-inch pipe in it. We're looking to re-sleeve it with a little bit smaller diameter and then come in and pump concrete around it. We're getting a bid on that right now, but that'll just solve our problem and won't have to tear the road all to pieces. Road department has begun mowing shoulders in the county. Right away right now, we have one crew in the Harrison area, and the second crew is over in the East Sanford area. I would like to remind people to watch your speed. Safety concerns is an issue. I'm not gonna get on a soapbox as bad as I want to right now. Me and my 10-year-old son, I will say, picked up trash on Crawford W. Long for a half a mile on both sides of that road. Multiple times we about got run over. That's a 45-mile-an-hour road. People are flying. They just are. I took a golf cart, parked it on the edge of the shoulder to let people know they was coming upon something, which was us walking down the road. The amount of trash on the side of our roads, from the public's perspective, please at least clean up your property. You don't have to go on to your neighbors, but I'll tell you, in 1/2 of a mile, we picked up 4 black empty trash bags. Now, our mowing crews will be coming that way. So when they come to cut your roads in Nice and in Harrison, when they run over that trash, it's going to look like a third world country. So do your best to get your trash off the side of the road. Somebody owns that land. If you want your place to look like a box of confetti, then that's fine. We'll cut it up, but we don't have the manpower to clean up the sides of the road, nor do we have the sheriff's office manpower to clean up the sides of the road. At some point in time, we have to take responsibility for our own property. And that was a short version of the soapbox.
Just think folks keep the trash in the car until they get home.
You know what was surprising? What I picked up most of, and my son picked up most of, which, by the way, it's healthy for you to get out on a Sunday afternoon and walk. Zaxby's, dinner plates, McDonald's cups, and Chick-fil-A styrofoam cups was the most of what we picked up. More than beer bottles and Coke cans and all that other stuff. It's like the distance between McDonald's and Franklin County on your way home, throw it out. Commerce, Zaxby's, on the way home, throw it out. And that's what we picked up the most of. This was not even locally produced. I bet I didn't pick up 2 or 3 Burger King cups. This was stuff from out of the county that they eat on the process of heading, and they tossed it out the window. It didn't blow out the back of the truck. You know, 4 black trash bags is not trash that blowed out the back of the truck. Had I found one name, I would do everything in my power through the sheriff's office to make that person on that name, that community service, stand for the whole road, not just for whatever little fine. Your community service will be that whole road, and I pick your name off of. Be warned. I promise you, I took it serious. I had a piece of glass go between my toes I stepped on yesterday. Cut both. So if I limp, you know why. I'm picking up trash. So enough about my soapbox. All right, the private drive signage. This is the last thing, guys. Private drive signage update. Along with the roads that we had discussed a minute ago, about the 270 to 300 road signs, or the dirt roads that we found that we did not have, nor do we have signage for, the cost for the brackets, the post, and the blue placard that for private drive, like PD 201, PD 407, to update the EMS and the sheriff's office and 911 and fire to be able to identify where you live. The cost on that is about $16,000 for the post, the signage, and the brackets. The posts are insane.
In-house installation.
In-house installation, that's 300 posts, 300 signs, 300 brackets.
That's metal posts.
The post. They'll be just your standard. And, you know, if we're lucky enough that there's a stop sign there, then we'll just need the bracket. We'll use the post on other signs. We're just letting you gentlemen know the cost on that's going to be about $16,000.
We still have an issue there, though, and I'm trying to explain to my wife what the difference was between a county road and a private drive. I took her down one of these big paths over there in the Sanford community, and even if you've got mailboxes on the road that identify what post office box it is, and it already has a sign that identifies it as a private drive, I don't for the life of me understand how the EMS and volunteer fire departments sort out which house, you know, because on this particular road there's 9 residences and none of them have any signage at the, you know, I mean, I don't know how first responders deal with that. You know, I don't know whether when you turn on the first one's the 4-0, the one across the road's the 4-1, or how they work it, you know.
Well, they gotta wait till the fire gets big enough so you can see.
Well, that's just it.
And look, I've been a fireman, so I'm making a joke, but that's about the truth in some of those cases.
But I to expand on that, I really believe that these folks ought to bear some part of the expense that the county's incurring here to at least identify their properties.
Yeah.
You know, that, in fairness to the county,
Well, we're gonna be embarking on, I hope not too many of these projects, but this is a health and safety concern, is why we're going down this avenue. What scares me more than anything is the cost of an ambulance being $240,000, and now what I'm hearing about a fire truck is closer to $800,000.
Yeah.
And then people have driveways that they don't keep widened out, that tears these trucks and the lights off of them. This is another concerning issue. At what point is that volunteer fireman gonna say, I can't tear this truck all to pieces because he decided that he didn't want to keep up his property and cut his limbs back? I know there's gonna be some moral concerns in there, but I'm taking this serious, guys.
Well, you can't turn them around.
You can't, and that also, half a mile deep, and you have to back it out a half a mile, and you have to back 5 of them in a row out.
And if they gotta stack them in there because you can't get them in there, then and those people don't have water, and so you gotta tank it in. And if you can't get the tankers in and out, your house is gonna burn up.
Well, that's part of why we're looking at these road ordinances the way we are.
I agree.
With so much intense information in it. All right, gentlemen, I don't have any more road updates. Urgent matters. Good Roach.
Yes, gentlemen. Commissioners, as y'all may remember from the March 7th BOC meeting, the board put several zoning matters to myself and my departments concerning the direction that we were taking with divisions, sizes, various zoning tasks, so to say. Since that discussion, we have worked diligently on these. What we have found through these tasks is that with varying issues throughout the county. They're not localized, and none of them are the exact same as we come across with the, I don't want to say failures, but shortcomings of previous staff in zoning and failure to comply with future land use map, and in all honesty, just taking some liberties they probably shouldn't have. With all that coming into play with the comp plan especially, it's hard for us to ensure a community standard and a zoning standard at this point in time that will carry forward from present to the end of our comp plan. However, if we can make a choice for immediate action now to help preserve what we have through the comp plan, we stand a better chance of being able to use this comp plan that we've invested so much money in helping to preserve a prosperous future for the county that y'all entrust me with a small part of. We're facing a lot of divisions on parcels that, quite frankly, according to the land use map and to our zoning, that shouldn't be set up, but there are certain loopholes that we found through going through our book in depth. I just wanted to remind y'all of that subject, that these are matters that have come at a greater pace than we thought they were going to come in March. We thought we might have the 18 months to the end of the comp plan. They literally popped up inside of 2 months. Yes, less than 2 months. So just wanted y'all to maybe churn those gears a little bit and maybe readdress some of these parcels, maybe giving the county a moment of pause to address certain loopholes or certain variances that aren't the best for the county, and the money that we've invested to help us find what the correct path is.
Christopher, with that being said, what would your recommendation to the Board of Commissioners be?
In your mind, is a 90-day pause on a couple of these specific ones, is that going to be sufficient time?
In 90 days, we could take a big hit at it. Commissioner Chandler, I'd say at a minimum, it would take 90 days, and it would be a joint investor between two of my departments, where we have the permitting and the building, also backing up the zoning. Sometimes when we take a pause just on zoning, the building still takes place. And sometimes when we hold up the building, the zoning's still taking place, and it has to be looked at together as we move forward. Otherwise, code enforcement's coming in, and he said, she said in March, they said in June, and it's not a consistent matter at the moment, as well as certain other zoning aspects that have come up that we've all spoken about in various forms, including some issues
So
that are
with that-
unforeseen at the moment.
So with that being said, are you thinking a 90-day or 180-day? What do you see visually to make the corrections in your office? I mean, right now, we're making them at warp speed, but there's so many of them, I don't know that we're gonna be able to get them done in 3 months. Would you like to look at maybe 3 months? It might have another legal question on this. Could we do 3 months and then potentially look at extending it if need be?
That's common, yeah.
That's common.
That would be a sound practice. I'd assure you, me and my staff move as fast as we can with as much as we can. But having a little elbow room, if we run short, may be a positive thing to have.
If we do this right, in my mind, one of the issues that Commissioner Adams has brought up several times, and ordinance allows it, and I think it's a flaw, but in specifically in A1, we have a 25-acre minimum, but the ordinance allows you to go in there and make a 5-acre cutoff of that.
Yes, sir.
And that has created much problem for us. And yeah, there have been some abuses, but just that specifically has created much problem for us. And I would welcome the opportunity for a pause to help us address that.
Yes, sir. As well as some R's and R1s, they can stick them anywhere. Just because, pulling one out of my head, let's say Halo 1 Auto Salvage decided to sell out. The soil might not be the best to perk for a new subdivision in that area, where at the same time it would be a great location. So there's cons that we need to address. It's just not, say, agriculture or necessarily, even though I threw RR or R1 out there, it's a broader picture, if that makes sense.
For me personally, and I consider it a loophole, the A2 situation, where it's my understanding it can be divided up as many as 5 times and never have to come before the board, just walk into your office and basically present a plat that separates the land as long as it meets the minimum lot requirement, and essentially somebody could have a mini subdivision.
Yes.
Without ever it becoming RR property.
Correct.
Or through personal research between the two departments, zoning and planning and the tax assessor's office, I've seen at least half a dozen instances where it was my understanding that someone divided a A1 tract into 2 A2s. They were supposed to wait 2-3 years before they approached back. And here again, I know in a half a dozen instances from just walking in and asking to look at specific plats, that in some cases there were less than 90 days between that occurring.
Yes, sir, where one parcel becomes 15.
Right.
Because of one miscommunication. There needs to be a stopgap, if you will, to try and prevent that miscommunication between zoning and the tax assessors, the superior clerk of court. So there's a whole process that's the plat alone, not even involving the zoning, that comes involved through planning and zoning.
Well,
Sorry.
Well, I think also that this whole thing has contributed to how we ended up with so much confusion, possibly with what you see on Q Public, which is not accurate and shouldn't be taken as a county instrument to identify property. The only place to do that is in the tax assessor's office.
That disclaimer is on Q Public.
Yeah, nobody reads that.
I know.
Fine print at the bottom. So Christopher, let me ask you something. Were you referring to, multifamily, subdivisions, or you're not referring to single-family dwellings of John Smith cuts out 2 acres for his daughter, a rezone house? You're referring to multi-split subdivision, pause, multi-split building permit, pause? Yes, sir. But not individual homeowner, pause. If somebody sells their house and wants to build another house, they're welcome to build their own house, but it's not a multi-tract. Is that what you're saying? Correct. Okay.
No, but are we talking about a pause on zoning actions, on issuing building permits, on approving preliminary and/or final subdivision plats, or some combination thereof?
From what I'm understanding is more of a moratorium on building, not necessarily rezone. Correct. But I think maybe Dennis had led to something different.
Mine deals primarily with attempting to put a stopgap on the issue of circumventing zoning and planning by simply saying, I want my land A2.
Well, but the splits you're talking about, at least as the ordinance reads now, the minimum in both A1 and A2 is 5 acres. So when these splits occur, most often, if they're going to be 5 acre or greater lots, there's no change in the zoning. It's simply the recording of that plat that doesn't have to go through doesn't have to go through the major subdivision regulations with the preliminary and final plats, because it's under 5 splits. Right, 4 splits. Sorry, total 5 plots, including the original. Yeah.
So, in another aspect where some of this is also coming from, is also from like our Board of Education, where some of these higher density populations are looking to come sprawl out, if you will, into our county, and it wasn't planned for in previous comp plans. And then our schools, all of a sudden, we're not planning on having an additional, I'm pulling numbers out of my head, just say 30 or 20 extra homes that came in that year, and then essentially that's a classroom or two. Mm-hmm. More that the schools weren't brought up to, and that's also being brought to my attention as well. Why aren't we looking at not only affordable housing, the location of the housing, the zoning and the comp plan, but why aren't we also looking at the county's resources? One of the main ones come to light is education. A lot of people are coming out because we have a great school system, and we definitely want to welcome them, but at the same time we have to grow evenly, and that's where the comp plan is. So if we allow this uneven growth now and our comp plan is in the works, it might not be as accurate as what we're hoping for. I know we've got high hopes for our comp plan, but part of it is making sure we try and keep a uniform front through our research and discovery phases.
Well, our friends in Franklin County are going through this exercise with a 300-unit modular mobile home plan that's development that is being orchestrated in order to provide labor for the SK plan, I think.
There's 3 going on in Franklin County right now.
Yes.
One's a 500 house home, or family, 500 families on 600 acres. One's the mobile development you're talking about, and then there's one up towards the Kubota plant where they're looking at putting 300 multifamily dwelling units inside of 200 acres. So it's coming our way. Other counties are not prepared. We're a step ahead of a lot with having a good
having this conversation puts us a step ahead of where our neighbors are at, right?
This is actually getting deeper than the thought that I had in my mind. I was thinking more along the lines of the discussion we had, about the A1 being allowed to be 5 acres but it sounded like we may need more than that. So if you were gonna define for us the cause that you feel like would best serve us to address these issues we've talked about, and then the ones that you mentioned tonight, what would that look like? What would that say?
I'm making sure I'm saying legal things correctly is what I was looking like. Sorry, sir.
Let me ask this, and while he's thinking to help you, but let me ask this question. I heard you say a minute ago, you know, it's kind of both, all aspects of the department. It's not just a zoning issue, it's the building issue. But to create that stop or that pause, I'm thinking, and help me articulate it, is you need to stop, you know, if it's 90 days or 100 days, you know, a temporary stop in any zoning actions. That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of that, I think, that I'm hearing is a stop or moratorium on any additional subdivision of property, period. If you have a existing lot of record that's in a subdivision, or you've already cut it off for your grandkid or whatnot, that's still a viable lot that someone could pull a building permit on.
Yes, sir.
Is that what I'm hearing, or at least?
I think that's what I'm hearing too.
So that would be a pause, let's just use the word, that would be a moratorium on zoning actions and also on all plat approvals. So even,
and issuance of building permits they wouldn't.
Well, now what Commissioner Doster said would not stop building permits.
Only in existing lots, existing conforming lots.
Right. There won't be any new lots created because there's no plat approvals.
Right.
And we're issuing building permits and non-conforming lots is also a hang-up that we're having in the office. What we're saying, Q Public, for instance, your records may have you in a rural residential and you're in an A2, and you want to build an accessory dwelling unit. And we're verifying those while at the same time we have almost 3,000 incongruencies at this point in time. I don't think anybody in my position prior to it looked at it that way, that you're certifying the permit for something.
So we're not ever going to be looking at Q Public to figure out what the zoning did. The public might do that, and it needs to be corrected for their convenience. That's not what we're going to use to issue a building permit.
But it's a strong argument that comes in against us that then we disprove, and we're trying to get everything as caught up as possible too.
We went through some of this exercise last year for about probably nearly 6 months, and the piece of property that the young man who had the poultry house spraying business, Zach Hightower, and the lot that he acquired, we actually created a non-conforming piece of property in allowing 3 acres or 2.5 acres to be sold. And then we went through this whole exercise of he wanted to put a business in an area that wasn't a business area, yet there had been a business there for years.
Okay, let's talk about this non-conforming lot and where that comes from, because that, I mean, hopefully those go away over decades, but zoning was created in Madison County in 1994, and non-conforming lots were created as a part of that. Now, in my opinion, a lot more were created than should have been, but that's water under the bridge. Anytime there's new zoning, there's always going to be some non-conforming lots, meaning there's this intensive agricultural area of the county. It all needs to be A1, but some of those lots that have already been created are under 5 acres or 25 acres or whatever the criteria were. Those are lawful, so they have the A1 put on them, but they were already smaller than that at the time. Those are lawful non-conforming lots, and that's where we started. And I suspect that's where Mr. Hightower's came from.
Well, his came from where, his particular piece came from a larger piece of property that crossed a road, crossed a county road, and he purchased just a piece of the pie, a very small piece of pie, which in my mind should have been, when a plat was presented for this piece of property, somewhere someone down the line should have picked up, wait, this can't be, it can't be this designation because number one, it doesn't meet the size requirements for it.
If it was since 94, that's correct.
It was well since 94, it only took place 2 years ago.
Okay.
You know, and somewhere down the line, and this has been going on to the point that it's been abused, in my opinion, in my opinion, by people who are attempting to manipulate a loophole that was created without ill intent some years ago, but now it's becoming overwhelmingly exploited as a means to create.
Well, I'm not sure how that happened. I mean, I don't remember if I ever saw those, but I don't think I ever saw them. But so the way lots are created is a plat is recorded. Plats can't be recorded without the zoning office approving the plats. Part of what, the reason the zoning office has to review them and approve them is to make sure everything is conforming, meaning the lot size. So a 3-acre lot in an A1 zone should never have been approved in the first place.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Should have changed status. You should have changed status.
Well, no, no, the zoning administrator says, I cannot record this plat, it's not compliant, you can go back and have it redrawn so that it meets current criteria, or you can come to the Board of Commissioners and ask for a rezone.
Yeah.
One or the other, those are your two options.
In that specific case, that road created that parcel. That road created that 3-acre segment.
So a new road was built?
No, the road had been there forever. It was
property
just,
line went across it, there was only 3 acres in that.
This guy drove by and said, I want this piece of property with this structure.
So the lot was created when the road was built?
No.
The parcel is bigger.
The original parcel.
So it was a original parcel with a road going through?
Through it, yes.
Okay, so it was a single parcel. So there was no 3-acre parcel?
Yeah. But we made it, and then we didn't correct what the...
Because the road doesn't. We didn't, it was made, and then we had to come and adjust it to make it happen.
Well, I'm getting lost, but I get, here's the overall principle. No county employee can change the law.
Should not,
and that's what's called in the law an ultra vires act. So if Teresa Patton gives you a building permit that was in violation of the ordinances she's supposed to enforce, your building permit's void. And the county can put a stop work order on you at any time.
That's exactly what happened to this young man. At one desk, and to put it in layman's terms, at one desk it was approved, and it didn't come up as a problem until it got to another desk.
Right.
And then they said, wait, you can't do that.
Right.
Well, by then, the money had already changed hands. There'd been a closing, and
there were buildings.
Yeah.
All right.
But back to Chris.
So I'm on board with Derek. I think Derek's exactly right. And stopping or pausing moratorium-wise any issuing of permits for subdivision type buildings of any sort, of any split.
All right, let's use correct terminology.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please. Because you've got the zoning act, you have a subdivision of property act, and then a building permit. And what you just articulated could have been all three of those.
I was getting there, but go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's all right, go ahead. You're right. I mean, me and him's on the same page on this.
So again, what I heard you say was stopping, putting a moratorium on zoning request. So that stops the definition of that property or underlying property.
Yes, sir.
A moratorium on any new subdivision of property, you can't cut any lot off, period. But then it goes to my next question, is if there is a lot of record already existing, you know, Bob Smith can go build his, home place that he's been dreaming on the river, or Christopher Roach needs, more storage for hay barn. That's
appropriate, applicable.
That's still allowed.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense.
So if that's the way the board wants to go, I can have for the zoning portion of that. It does require a public hearing. However, you can go ahead and implement it with a public hearing to be held at your next meeting within 30 days. And I could have, we've done those before, I could have that resolution ready for you at the next meeting if you want to do that.
Now, based off what Derek just said, though, a lot of record means there was already a 2-acre parcel split out. How would that affect if you sold your home and you wanted to build a new home and you just purchased 2 acres to build a home of RR?
Well, if you sell a lot of record and buy a lot of record, you're not going to be impacted.
You're just not creating a
You're not creating a new lot.
Okay, you're not creating a new lot. Or splitting it off. Say Mom got 5 acres, she wants to split off 2 for you to build a house.
That's creating a new lot.
That's creating a new lot. You can't do that for you.
For 90 days.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all clear on it. That's all. Yeah, I'm just making sure we're all clear. Okay.
Yeah, I just brought it forward for consideration.
And
Where it's going,
Well, based off of what we've seen
trying to get across.
in the office and what's the magnitude, you're never going to be able to make corrections if we're still fanning fires.
Correct, sir.
Or fighting fires, let's put it that way. So I would ask for a motion.
Well, let's make sure we got the wording right.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Well, now, in the past, I don't have the resolution ready.
Correct.
So we need to do this next week. I'll send
Get one together.
I'll get it
No
together and send it around, but,
So discussion then on May 2nd, it'll be on the agenda.
right.
So, and in the meantime, in this 90 days or whatever, what is the outcome that you're looking for in that 90 days? Like, what's the goal?
To readjust verbiage in our zoning.
Correction.
Make the corrections that were aforementioned back in March, that were put on our plate, but we're not able to put them into action because we're having to move at such a pace right now.
And that's a
Keep up with
critical
demand.
part of this resolution is getting the justification correct, and so that's something that Christopher and Chairman and I will work on, get this out to y'all this week, talk about it and pass it in May 2nd. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you was exactly right. And that, the definition of why, which is mandatory for the moratorium, is well justified. And we can go to many areas, whether it be on the building side, because we do have a new permitting process coming in place. It's computerized. That'll come towards the end of the month. It's going to take a week or so for transition and training. And the public can be able to pull their own permits from home at night, once this goes away. So in every aspect, from building code to the zoning, redoing some of the ordinances and clearing up that, each one is justified clearly, I promise you.
And it'll create a better flow, if you will, like a triangle or a 3-headed spear, moving forward from planning and zoning as well. Not only will it help us address these issues that y'all brought for us to try and remedy, that's the best way of saying it. It'll also put us on the right page moving in with our new technology, our new programs moving forward, and so that when we do come up, we'll have the answers, we'll have the new program, and we'll be able to address it in an effective and modern way.
We well trained and ready to.
Well, that one.
And it's really hard, and I'll tell you about this program. Christopher sat through it, Christina sat through it, many of the office people have. We got to have a policy. We want a policy that's corrected, so when it's uploaded, that people goes online and says, okay, how do I pull a permit for a building office? We got to make sure that we clarify that. The last thing we want to do is upload it and then turn around and amend it the next week because of the pace we're doing that. We need that pause to try to get everything established in the correct order. Thank you.
So that I understand, then the public hearing will be also the same date?
Not on May 2nd. you can go ahead and implement it on May 2nd, and then we'll need to do a public hearing at some point in the next 30 days, typically at your next meeting.
And then that'll be advertised in the paper.
So it's in effect once you pass it, but yeah, then it's advertised, goes through the normal.
So that the public will understand.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do to implement it for the 90-day period.
Good job.
And then as we extend it, we'll have to do that again.
I think you can get that out this week, right?
When?
I think you can get that out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
In your spare time between 2 a.m. and 4. So.
That's right. I've been doing all this unnecessary sleeping.
Actually, I was worried about you. Our whole computer system the other morning, we came in and a string of 12 or 14 emails said they came in between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. I'm like, what is Mike Pruitt sending emails for at 3 in the morning? Why is he not in the bed? And I started seeing 3:48 a.m.
I didn't do them at night. I did them on Saturday. It wasn't night. Yeah, it was all Saturday. That was my Saturday.
All right. Any other urgent matters?
Well, Chris, does this give you the confidence that I'm thinking I need to hear from you? Is okay. I mentioned.
Yes, sir. All right. Statements and remarks from citizens. Anybody have anything?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's good to see you guys. When we were talking about number 12, road update, it just made me think of something, and forgive me because I'm not attending these all the time, and so I'm learning as I go. When we do see potholes, how does that get reported? Should the citizens be reporting that to you guys?
Absolutely.
And who do we report that to?
Brian Kirk.
Yeah. You don't have his cell phone number.
Yeah, my cell phone number's out there. His number. Feel free to call me, but I'm gonna call the road department.
I didn't know if we should report it to the road
Well,
department or
you can't, I talked to Alan about this the other day, because a lot of people call me, they tell me that they tried to contact the road department. What I find out is, they contacted the road department told them they would look at it, but then they...
Out of sight, out of mind.
It's not out of sight of mind, but a lot of people then call me because they think that I can go down there and beat on them and get something done. But we've got a good road department, so first off, I would say if you got a problem, call the road department and let them know.
Okay.
If you don't feel like something's happening, then you can call me if I'm your commissioner or some of these other guys.
Whoever's our commissioner.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Happy
right.
Brian.
You don't know.
All our emails are on the website, and we can forward everything to Brian.
And the reason they say that is because if you want to know where all the dirt roads is at, I can let you know right there.
So you're the guy I'm supposed to call about my dirt road?
Most all of them. Yeah.
So in all seriousness,
most of them are.
An email works best. Sure.
Yeah.
Because the office staff, there's one lady that sits in there. She may miss your call. And my email, I will tell you that I've not seen anything go past 2 weeks after it's been reported. Because they may be on that end of the county. That'll give them an opportunity to come. Sort of hard to relocate all the equipment for a pothole. So that's why we try to do it in a series. But if it's bad enough, I ain't gonna say we're gonna put a criteria on what enough is, but you will have seen action in 2 weeks. If not, follow back up with that email.
And that email address of the road department is on the website?
It is.
It is.
Attach Alan Lazimski on it also, so this way his secretary will see it coming and he will also see it coming in an email form.
And just in case there's a misconception, when the board does this, they're not approving or directing these repairs. This just happens to be one of those convenient times. It's the road department's responsibility. They answer to the chairman. That's a chain of authority.
Sure.
These guys are just reporting to the chairman so he can tell the road department what to do.
Got it.
It's a pretty well-oiled system, I will say. I mean, Alan appreciates hearing from his district commissioners. He also, and I keep stating this over and over and over, we can't fix it unless we know about it. We don't have enough manpower to ride roads just looking for a pothole. So, but when you send it in, it normally gets addressed quickly.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Can I go back and mention one thing on the urgent matters? If you want to call it urgent. And, Mr. Pruitt is very aware of this. We had a situation where a Board of Education candidate was declared ineligible, and I asked the question about would it be appropriate to refund his qualifying fee, and got a thank you for the explanation that you have. So two concerns, two questions. In your mind, based on what you heard, the testimony occurred, is that an appropriate case for us to request his refund of his qualifying fees?
Well, again, it wouldn't be, so the candidate would have to request it, and then it would have to be approved by the Secretary of State. And the Secretary of State would have to decide if some error occur in the Board of Elections office. And candidly, my answer would be no. I don't think any error occurred.
The other part of that, and I feel as guilty about this as probably anybody should, in the conversation, there was a statement made, and I suspect it's accurate, that it's not my responsibility to see that the candidate read the ordinance or read the requirements, and I get that. But at the same time, I think we, and I'm talking about this board and all county employees, need to have the attitude that my responsibility is service to whomever citizen. And in that case, in my mind, based on what I saw, we didn't do as good as we could have to make sure that information was all out there. And I feel very badly about that. And it's just, it's just a personal attitude that I feel like we need to all make sure that we have, and we set that example for that, for us to say, and it may be right, this is not my responsibility, but my responsibility is for all the citizens to help make sure they get all the information they need.
Just, I said in the email, in that particular case, the office was not a county office, it's a Board of Education office. Right. And as a Board of Education attorney, not here, but in other counties, in Clark County, just to let you know, I don't expect the mayor and commission there or their county attorney, Judge Drake, to advise Board of Education members or possible candidates on that. I, as the BOE lawyer, compile that list and give it to the Board of Elections. So,
anyway, it was a learning experience for me, and I think even for the folks here at the Board of Elections. And I feel like we'll be better having been through that. But I feel very, very badly for Mr. Behrman for him having to be the one that bears the brunt of that.
I understand.
So if you think there is an opportunity there, I will get back in touch with him and have him request that. But I did share with him the email from you.
Yeah, I mean, that's up to him. I mean,
The very first step is Secretary of State, though. He has to file a motion to Secretary of State.
The motion to file is to the Secretary of State.
I don't remember how it works off the top of my head, but yeah, he makes the request, and ultimately somehow it gets to the Secretary of State. So.
Hey, it may be our office and then
it may be exactly. I don't remember
how. The way that I perceived it, he makes a request to us.
Yeah, to the board, but not to the board commission.
Well, all those in the nonpartisan elections, all those dollars come into the general fund here, come to some fund that's controlled by the Board of Commissioners, right?
Yes.
I thought the request after and this is just trying to read some of this after the fact. I thought the request, though, had to come from the candidate to the Board of Elections to the Secretary of State.
That's the chain I was thinking.
That's what I drew out of it. Trying to piece it together.
Really, they try to keep that separate from the Board of Commissioners, because that's a voting thing, and we can't be in it.
All right, so at least explore the option of contacting Tracy and find out what the step-by-step process, so at least Mr. Behrman has an opportunity to bring that up. All right, statements, remarks from commissioners. I did say statements, remarks from citizens. Anybody else? Statement, remarks from commissioners. I think we've said 2 hours worth, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I got my soapbox.
All right, come on.
I need to go. You mentioned trash. I'm going to say it. You can say it in paper. You want to remind people. But our ordinance for you to tarp your trash on the dump is for you to tarp it before you leave the driveway. Yeah. Living on Carpenter Road and seeing the amount of people that plover in the decel lane before they get to the gate to put their tarp on. I want to start taking pictures and start me a new Facebook page for something. I'm gonna have to shame people, I guess, but.
Well, perhaps
Put
it would
your
be.
tarp
I didn't
on-
go there on my soapbox,
Put
but
your
I will
tarp on
take-
before you leave the house.
If I, then let me fall back on that, if I could make a suggestion. Recently, the Board of Commissioners approved, and we put in place security cameras that within the first 2 weeks, paid for themselves by apprehension of the vandals for what would be wrong with putting a security camera, and it's right there at the gate. You're gonna get a picture of the tag, you find the vehicle. That's it. I mean.
In that lane where they stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every day.
I know.
Just for the record, we have 12 sets of, trail cams, and we may just, randomly put them throughout the county, just to see what we catch. To be warned with your littering, I can't stand it.
Oh, yeah.
And my 10-year-old said, Dad, this is a shame, you know it's bad.
All right, I'm off my soapbox. You move on to.
All right, executive session to discuss real estate acquisition, personal matters, potential litigations.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
No move.
Thank you.
Oh, and on the steering committee, we do have a couple openings. We're waiting on Isla's confirmation and one from the city of Danielsville, a confirmation. We're still requesting names and phone number and email addresses if you want to be on it. Some of y'all in this room is already on this list, by the way. Be warned.
You can't vote for me, so.
Can I ask you a question, Todd? Yeah, I've met with you before.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I knew I could put you out here. Just give me a call when we, you know. He's already on. No, he.
That's one of those ultraviolet things, that's why it was reported when it should have The process needs to be gone. What I suggested was, rather than make him hang, he really didn't do anything wrong. Is that we do it ordinance.
Yes, sir, thank you.
They put it on the agenda, he explained to this board, which is, yes, go through this property. And he won't have to pay them that. Yeah, I haven't done it yet. Somebody needs to put it on the agenda for this board, say, yes, we want to do it. Chris, he's the man. He actually went, did you get a chance to watch, see if we did that?
Congratulations,
Oh, you
good
did?
job, guys. Great meeting.
Excuse me. All right,
Someone's gonna email.
All right, I don't think I have enough time between now and drinking, to talk about conversations. Oh, well, that's fine. I appreciate it. Guys in the advisory.
But that'll have to be called.
The rezone where there was so there's the lot here, the strip here, and then the strip here, that the plat was recorded when it shouldn't have been. What I suggest is initiate, so it needs to be an agenda for this board to say, yes, we want to do a board initiated rezone, fix that one. So that so the owner doesn't have to pay fees.
You're very glad to have us.
Yes, thank you.
Over some Thursday, Friday. Papers about it.
Because it's your 60th birthday.
They don't do that. Well, I can
Sheriff's not want you to do some